lovely friends, it's Margaret, and it's time to nerd out about books. Another month has come and gone, and it is time for my August wrap-up. Some of these I'm not going to go into too much depth about because I did finish them during Booktubeathon. So if you would like my further thoughts on those books, I will have them up here. That said, I do still have a lot of books to talk about. I finished, in the month of August, 13 books. Yes. So that was broken down into 5 hard copy books, 5 audiobooks, and 3 graphic novels. I read 3 5-star books, 6 4-star books, 3 3-star books, and 1 2-star book. The first book that I finished in the month of August was Brightly Burning by Alexa Dunn. Now this is basically Jane Eyre in space. I really liked it. I liked how she kind of twisted things a little bit and changed things up to make the story of Jane Eyre more modern. I gave this 4 out of 4 stars. This was the first book that I finished for Booktubeathon. The next book I finished, I do not have with me because it was a library book, but it was Teen Titans Volume 1, Damien Knows Best. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. I loved seeing the new Teen Titans team working together with Damien trying his best to be mini Bruce Wayne and failing miserably. I love the child, but he greatly overestimates his abilities. He thinks he's all that, and he's not quite all that just yet. So that was the second book I finished in Booktubeathon. The third book I finished during Booktubeathon was Zen and the Art of Writing by Ray Bradbury. I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. I just don't think Ray Bradbury's writing style is for me. I read both his fiction and his nonfiction. It did have some interesting nuggets, so I'm glad I read it, but I don't know that I would read it again. The fourth book that I finished during Booktubeathon was Wonder Woman Volume 4, God Watch. This is another one of the rebirth titles like Teen Titans was. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I am highly enjoying what Greg Rucka has been doing with Diana. If you want more of my thoughts on that, I also go into them in my Booktubeathon wrap-up. All 4 of those books are covered in much greater detail. The next book I finished, I actually did pick up during Booktubeathon because I felt like it was going to be a little easier for me to get through, and I almost got through it, but I didn't. The next one is Shadow Kiss by Rochelle Mead. It is the next book in the Vampire Academy trilogy. I have been reading this trilogy. I love it. It's the Vampire Academy trilogy, Margaret. The Vampire Academy series. My favorite boy in the entire series, Adrian Ivashkov, was in this book. But this basically, it's a girl at a Vampire Academy, if you couldn't tell from the name of the series. And so lots of stuff goes down in this one. And I realized about 3/4 of the way through, I know certain things that happen in this series. I know the big bad thing that happens in this series that basically the next, I think 2 or maybe the final 3 books are deal with. And so I realized about halfway through or 3/4 of the way through that this was the book. This was the book, guys. Anyways, if you are looking, and I don't say this in a bad way, but if you are looking for a trashy vampire novel that is not Twilight, like it is so far from Twilight, way different. Not that I hate Twilight, I haven't read it recently, but I did enjoy Twilight when I read it. So, not bashing Twilight, I'm just saying this is different from Twilight. So if you didn't like Twilight, you might like this one if you're looking for more vampire-y stuff. But oh, this hurt my heart, even though I knew what was gonna happen. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars, really enjoyed it. The next one I finished is actually a manga. It is Battle Angel Alita by Yukito Koshiro. I saw the trailer for the movie, and at first I was like, this looks weird. And then they came out with one that had an actual plot involved, and I was like, this looks awesome. This starts out with Daisuke, and he goes through the junkyards. It's a post-apocalyptic Earth-type setting. I'm not actually sure if they're on Earth. They might be somewhere else. But it's post-apocalyptic. It's dystopian, basically. You have Daisuke, who's kind of a bounty hunter slash scavenger. So he goes after bad, I guess, robots. And he takes them out so that they can't hurt people anymore. But he also is scavenging in the junkyard to find stuff, to make stuff, because he likes making stuff, and he's an inventor and that kind of thing. And so he finds Alita's head, and he takes her back, and he wakes her up, and he starts rebuilding her. They discover that she's really good at fighting, so she starts helping him with the bounties. And so I really liked it. It was an interesting concept. I do want to continue on with this series. However, my library does not have any more of them, so I will have to start buying them. So it's going to be a while before I get to volume 2. But I thought it was interesting. I liked the concept. I'm interested in the movie. I can't wait to see that. I gave this one 3 out of 5 stars. It was good. I want to continue with the series. The next book I listened to was Infectious Madness by Harriet Washington. It's a nonfiction book. Basically, it's about how certain viruses and diseases can trigger predilections to certain mental illnesses. It covered a bunch of stuff, like it had a lot of historical context, it had a lot of stuff that was going on today. It was a very interesting and informative read. I liked it. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I mean, it wasn't the most entertaining thing I've ever read, but it was good information. It did put its point across and gave you a lot to think about the American healthcare system and how we classify and treat mental illness and how we tend to box it in and say, well, it has to always be this one path, like this is how you get this is where mental illness comes from. And then she's sitting there going, basically, there's a whole host of things that happen biologically that feed into a person's mental illness. The next book I finished was my favorite book of the entire month. I don't know why I slept on this series for so long. I hadn't actually heard about it until last year. But still, if you have not read this series, I'm telling you right now, you need to make time in your life to read this series. That book, my friends, is Illuminae by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. Holy crap, I love this book. Oh my gosh, guys, I love this series. I don't know when I'm gonna find time for Gemini, but somehow I am going to find time for Gemini. I might listen to it. This is about Katie and Ezra. They were living on this mining colony, and it's an illegal mining colony. It's not supposed to be there. The rival corporation decides that this is a great place to attack and test out this biological weapon, because nobody's actually going to be able to report it, because the people that these people were working for are not going to want any of it getting out. Holy crap, that twist at the end, guys, though. I saw it coming. I figured it out at some point, but I was surprised to be right. Let's just put it that way. It makes sense that I was right, but I was surprised to be right. This drew me in right away because you have Katie and Ezra who have just broken up when this attack happens. And I'm just like, oh, yes, angst, haha, my favorite thing. So they end up like evacuating this planet and they end up on separate ships. Bad stuff happens. And I was on the edge of my seat the entire time I was reading this. Like, this is one of those books. This is one of those books that you look at it and you go, you're reading it. You are literally reading this book and you're going, I don't understand how this is working as well as it's working. Like, your mind is blown because the writing is so clever and how they put it together with the various reports and transcripts and all of that is so clever. And you're just like, how did they, like, 9 out of 10 people would have done this and it would have been crap, and yet they did it and it was amazing. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars, guys, if you hadn't figured that out already. 5 out of 5 stars. Did I? No, because I finished 14 books this month, guys. Forgot one of my graphic novels. Let's calm it down a sec. The next book I finished was Crazy Rich Asians by Kevin Kwan. I actually went to see the movie first and then I read the book. I liked this. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I thought he did a really good job of building the world, of building the characters. It was so complex and intricate, and there were just so many different threads. I think that it's one where you can watch the movie before you read the book. Some of them it's like, why would you do that? But like, this is one that I didn't mind that I watched the movie before I read the book. I actually ended up liking the movie better. My only issue with this book is in the movie, Rachel, the main character, she is definitely the main character of the movie. She is much more proactive. I was talking with a friend and she's like, she pointed out that we actually see her as an economist in the movie and using those skills in the situation that she's in, whereas in the book she's a much more passive, and the family itself is the main character. It's not Rachel or Nick being the main characters in the book, it's the family itself. There's a lot of nuance in the family that is in the book. Like, you get the mom's story so much better in the book than you do in the movie, but I did still prefer the movie and I'm really looking forward to the sequel. 5 more books, guys. The next book that I finished was The Wedding Date by Jasmine Guillory. It's about Alexa and she meets this guy in an elevator. He's going to the wedding from hell, basically. And so he's like, I need a date. Would you like to come to this wedding with me? She agrees, and they kind of realize they have a thing, and the thing continues. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. It was not the ideal book for me to listen to as an audiobook. Once you got to the second half of the book, which is what really saved it, there was a lot of plot happening, a lot of angst, like them trying to figure out a whole bunch of stuff, and I really, really enjoyed that part. I enjoyed the beginning. It was cute, it was fluffy, it was fun, just not something I would have listened to in an audiobook if I had known how detailed it was going to get. So if that is something that you are uncomfortable with or something that you prefer to avoid, just know you're going to want the hard copy, so it's a little easier to skip over stuff. The next book I finished was Heart of Iron by Ashley Poston. I ended up giving it 3 out of 5 stars. I was here somewhere before I was like, yes, I'm interested in this plot and these characters. I don't even know that I was ever, the characters really didn't get me until almost at the very end. Like, we were almost at the end, and I was like, okay, now I'm connecting with the characters, and now I'm invested with them. I was not invested in anything except figuring out how they were going to figure this one thing out, which is why I kept reading. I did push through it. I am glad I did. I do think I'm going to continue on with the series because where she left it, where she left it, I want to know what happens next. There is going to be lots of angst in the next book. It's going to be fantastic. I love angst. This is Anastasia in Space. We are following Anna, Di, Jax, and Rob. Anna is a girl who basically has no memory before like 7 or 8. She was found with this metal, which is they're like illegal robots, D09, and they're trying to, he's been glitching, so they're trying to find a way to fix him. So Anna is looking for this ship that the guy who created the metals belonged to this guy. It was his like basically his flagship, but it's been missing for years. And then you have Rob, who is a noble boy trying to kind of escape his family and figure out what happened to his dad, and he thinks the answer might be on this ship as well. And then Jax is just basically the poor guy that they drag into this. Like, he didn't ask for any of this, guys. Basically, it was all right. 3 out of 5 stars. There were several times where I almost DNF'd this book, but I did push through, and it was worth pushing through, in my opinion. The next book I finished in August was Awakening Your Ikigai by Ken Mogi. It was a quick audiobook that I picked up and I listened to for like 2 days because I needed something to hold me over until I got the next book on audiobook, but we'll get to that. But it's basically just this Japanese concept that is kind of ingrained into their society that involves like appreciating the small things, having harmony in your life, all of that kind of stuff. It was really good. It was very, it gave me a lot to think about how I approach the things that I do and the things that I want to accomplish and the way I live my life. So I definitely would suggest picking it up, but I do want to like get a hard copy of this book so that I can keep it and reread it. The next book I finished, I'm very proud of myself. I got I got 8 of the 10 books I was planning on reading this month read. 2 of them I just haven't been finished yet, but we're working on that. But the next book I read was The Darkest Minds by Alexandra Bracken. This has been sitting on my shelf for like 3 years. And whoever let me sleep on this sucker, I'm just saying, why did you do that? Why would you? Well, I cannot believe I'm just so mad that I had not read this book until this month. It was so good. The ending, holy crap, that ending, guys. That ending, what the heck? Again, despite that ending, I did give it 5 out of 5 stars. All of the children in Ruby's world developed a disease that basically it either killed you or you developed psi powers, or it's basically superpowers. They get stuck in these camps where they are forced to work. Ruby finds out that they are trying to weed out kids that are specifically like her so that they can off them, because they've already offed most of them and they're trying to weed out all the dangerous children. So she takes this chance with these people to escape, and so it's basically about what happens after she escapes, her running into some other kids, all of that. It was so good. I'm currently listening to the second one right now, and I loved it. I just read it. The final book, this is the one that I forgot that I'd read because I hadn't put it on my thing. The final book I read for the month of August was Catwoman Volume 5, Relentless. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. I love this one. This is the point, this is one of the ones from this particular run that I have actually read. I remember reading it and recognizing so much of the story. So basically, Selena has crossed Black Mask. She stole a whole lot of his diamonds because he's a very bad person and deserves to get his diamonds stolen. And so she puts them back into her community. Unfortunately, Black Mask uses that to trace her and then go after her. and it does not work out very well. This has one of my favorite moments from this run of the Catwoman series. There are a lot of my favorite moments between Bruce and Selina in this particular run of the Catwoman series, but it does have at the very end one of my favorite moments. I will be doing a little bit more in-depth review on this one because I'm going to review all of them. She's in a huge, like, rock meet hard place, and it's fantastic because she is allowed to work through things on her own. She does end up solving everything on her own. That's one of the things I like about Catwoman, is that a lot of the time it'll be her solving the issue. You know, it's not every time she's turning to Batman to get his help, but so she solves the issue, and then you see Batman show up at the end to provide emotional support, basically. And that is fantastic to me. I just love it. She gets her own storyline and stuff, but we also get to see how much they just support each other and believe each other, and it's fantastic. That is it for August. That was a lot of books, guys. That was a lot of books. Now, granted, 4 of them were graphic novels, so I guess it's not as many books as you say. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button. I would love to see your lovely face on a regular basis. Tell me down in the comments if you've read any of these books, if you're interested in any of these books, if you love illuminae, so we can talk about illuminae. If you want to find me on a more regular basis, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter. Those are both at the word nerd. That is it for now, my friends. I will see you later, when we will talk about more wordy, nerdy things. Bye!